My name is Lisa Trainer, and I am an independent contractor, ASL interpreter in the state of Maine.
Okay.
My name is Maura Nolan, and I am Director of Interpreting Services at Pine Tree Society.
My name is Regan Kim, and I'm a deaf interpreter. I work for several different agencies. I'm self-employed, and I work around the state of Maine, and I'm also a teacher at an ASL teacher at USM in their interpreter program.
You have obviously in the last few days become the most best known interpreter in the state of Maine. I think that's fair to say. What do you think about it?
I'm not sure about that. I think that's for the public to decide.
How
Yes.
important is that role?
My role is very important. As this virus is becoming more prevalent, my job here is to match the audience in Maine who don't access information through closed captions, because the news that we get only has access through English, written English, and a lot of our Maine residents who are deaf or hard of hearing don't use English, written English, as an accessible language. So we have to put an interpreter on the camera to make sure that they're getting all of the information that the general public is getting. So we have a bunch of interpreters, and we have hearing interpreters, and then myself as a deaf interpreter, who can put this language into a more robust and more organic language as opposed to a second language. And that way I can really convey the information about this outbreak to Mainers who have limited access to English and limited language skills, and they can be protected from this virus just the same as everybody else. Because we have to understand, deaf people in Maine are also hearing people's neighbors, so we want to protect the deaf community in order to protect the community at large.
You're a very expressive interpreter, and not that I have a lot to compare it to, but you're very expressive. Why is that?
So facial expressions are how grammar is shown in American Sign Language, and also emotion and affect. It shows if it's a question or a statement. It can show if it's a command or if it's just information, and it provides all of the punctuation that we would use with voice intonation in the hearing community. So moving forward in future tense, and we move forward, and if it's past tense, my body will move backwards. I'm able to set up information in space so I can show relationships between concepts and between locations, and people are able to understand that better, and they're able to digest that information a lot easier than in written English. So when you have a person who's more influenced by English in their signing, they use a very small signing space and they have fewer facial expressions. But the people that I'm trying to convey this message to are people that may not have access to English, they may not use written English as a language, and so I need to make sure that they are able to understand this information in the most accessible way possible. So if you think about if you were sitting at home with your family watching TV, and there was an emergency, and you were like, oh my gosh, I just saw this on TV about this emergency. We want to be able to make sure that our deaf community can share that information just like everybody else. And that's why we're providing access in this way.
How difficult is this?
It's tough. It's a challenge because we can't interrupt the speaker to ask for any clarification. We can't say, well, did you mean this? Or how does this relate to that? And where did this come from? And we can't ask for repetition. So if we miss the name of a person or a department, there's a lot of information. And that's why we have the two hearing interpreters to help make sure that we are providing accurate information to everybody. And the speed at which things go in that room, we have no control over that either, and that is a challenge. But luckily, I've had 20 years of experience interpreting, and I've worked in different platform situations, so on stages, so I'm used to that high pressure. But it's definitely a new experience.
Is it tiring?
No, it's the opposite. Afterwards, I feel like, wow, okay, this is so amazing. I was able to meet people's needs. I was able to provide information of such importance in a first language, and it makes me feel really great about my role in my community.